Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Wayne Bennett, and I'm here again with ECRM Talks. And today I have the great honor and privilege to be talking with LeShaun Smedley, who is the manager of diversity and inclusion at Kroger Company. LeShaun, I'm really happy to have you here. Welcome.
Hey, Wayne, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Great. LeShaun, I am curious to know a little bit more about your role, what you do at Kroger in your diversity and inclusion role, and maybe you can share for the audience today, just to kind of kick it off, what you'd like to get out of today's discussion.
Yeah, so like you mentioned before, my name is LeShaun Smedley. I'm the supplier diversity manager at Kroger. My main goal and objective is to bring on more minority-owned businesses and try to grow our spend here at Kroger. So we have an initiative where we are trying to get to $10 billion in spend in the next 10 years. So by 2030, we need to get to $10 billion. Right now, we're at 4.1 billion. So again, bringing on as many minority-owned vendors as possible so they can grow and Kroger can grow, and so we can be impactful in our communities.
LeShaun, that's really great news, and thank you for sharing that information. That certainly is great progress, but a lot more needs to have happen, and I'm hoping, obviously today and the work we're doing together could help in that effort. So what I want to get into here a little bit is, with that focus, that goal in mind, what makes your supplier diversity inclusion efforts unique to your organization? Obviously, there's been a lot of conversation in the industry about supplier diversity and inclusion, but what I really want to understand is what makes the Kroger method approach different?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So what makes us unique is we've honestly been tracking and reporting minority spend for 30 plus years. So we've already had a great foundation when it comes to supplier diversity. So the neat little things that we've been doing recently is we've been providing more opportunities to give more exposure to our minority-owned vendors through social media platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, all those different platforms. We've been highlighting them throughout different heritage months like Black Heritage Month, Asian Heritage Month, Women's International Day. So we grab and take a handful of suppliers, spotlight them during those months, and promote them. Another thing that we do is we do webinars where we help educate our minority-owned vendors. So we do 4 to 6 per year. And it's just different educational opportunities to help them understand how to be successful within Kroger. So those are a couple of the things that we do internally to help our vendors. One more thing that we do is we have 1 to 2 summits a year where we bring in brand new minority-owned vendors that have never done business with Kroger before, and we give them exposure. We give them access to our decision makers, and we've had some great success out of those summits. So those are like two to three things that we're doing that are unique to Kroger.
LeShaun, that's really great. A lot of opportunity to get the word out, to show the marketplace that you guys are eager to make the assortments more diverse and to give those suppliers the opportunity to do so. But I think what's important in this effort here that we're doing today is, what should suppliers know about your organization to be successful? It's a large organization. There's lots of banners across the country. What do they need to know to be successful? Many of them are smaller, emerging. Help me through this. Help them understand how they can tackle Kroger.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head, to be honest, Wayne. You have to do your homework first. You have to do your homework on Kroger. You can't come in and not know anything about Kroger. You have to understand that we're not just a Kroger banner name. We own different banners west of the Mississippi. You have to understand, we're in 35 states. You have to know that, we've got almost 2,800 stores across the United States. So do your homework on Kroger, understand your product, your data, who your customer truly is, where you see yourself fitting in the Kroger space. As far as do you think you belong in a store? Should you be on digital? I mean, because we have both of those platforms. If you understand who your customer is, I mean, we have, three buckets of stores. We've got upscale, we've got mainstream and value. So does it resonate to, one of those customers? Does it resonate to everybody? I mean, the more data that you can provide about your product and service to say, hey, this is going to help generate and bring in more customers to Kroger, the easier it is to tell your story to the decision makers. The easier it is to tell the story to our team to, provide that access to the right people. So you just need to know your product, and then you need to know Kroger and where you fit in, and how it's going to make it easier, or how you're going to make an impact to our customers.
LeShaun, that's really very helpful to know. I'm just going to take the question one step further, and I'm just going to ask you, how how do the suppliers get the material to study, to learn about what you just said? What is the best way for me as a supplier looking to break into the labyrinth of Kroger to understand all of the things you just said? How do I do that?
Yeah, so a lot of it is on Kroger.com. Just to be honest, we've got a ton of information on Kroger.com that can help equip you to be ready. You can get IRI data to understand, who you are and who your products are and the sales and things like that. And honestly, I mean, if you really need to take it another step further, I mean, you can always reach out to the supplier diversity team, which also we have a web address, or excuse me, an email address on our website that you can ask, and then we can help, answer some of those questions. So feel free to reach out to us and our team, and we can definitely help you go from there and get you as much information as possible.
Maybe a good starting point. Just connect with you guys directly and ask the questions before you start selling. Ask the questions.
Yep.
Yep. LeShaun, so obviously there's a lot you're doing on social. You've talked about the summits. You've talked about the open door to call the diversity team to learn more. But I'm also curious to know is what is the process or the pathway with that door being open for the diverse suppliers to connect with the merchant team? Like, how does that happen?
Yeah, so the process, when minority-owned vendors connect with our team. So actually, let me take a step back.
Sure.
So Kroger, if you have a product that needs to be merchandised on the shelf, we plan off of a calendar.
Yep.
So it's typically 6 to 8 to 12 months out, depending on the category, depending on the product. So we are looking at that calendar, and we're looking to see, hey, when is the next, what we call a reset, shelf reset is going to happen. And then you got to take, 3 to 4 months back from when the reset, the shelf is going to change. You take 3 to 4 months back, and then that's when we need to put you in front of our decision makers, category managers. So the first step is, send your information to the supplier diversity team, and now we're utilizing RangeMe, so you can upload your capability statement, put nice pictures, your margins, whatever information you need to put out there, you can put it on RangeMe, and then that gets presented to the Kroger category managers. And depending on, the timing, if they're ready to do a review, then they'll reach out to the supplier and set up what they call a review meeting or a new item appointment. And then you go from there. So the category manager will then take all that information that you presented and figure out, hey, it doesn't make sense to put it on the shelf during the reset, or yep, vice versa. Or, do we need to wait a year? Sometimes, we've had products come in as quickly as, 3 months, but I've seen some suppliers come in a year later, a year and a half later, just to be honest. So the timing is very different depending on the Compass calendar, depending on the contracts and things like that. So, but we always give you access to the right people.
So, LeShaun, and I'm glad you talked about the reset process. I was going to ask you that. In terms of the cadence or the schedule or the calendar of that reset schedule, again, how would I get that? How would I know that if I was the diverse supplier? And again, is that through your office where I could learn more about that?
Yeah, again, that's where, we can add you to the Compass Calendar email blast. So any supplier that is interested, reach out and we can add you to when they do an update. So they typically send out an update of the Compass Calendar, every 2 weeks, every other week. So just reach out to the supplier diversity team, the via email box that is on the Kroger.com page, and we can get you connected to the Compass Calendar.
That's great. I'm curious to know what the company or banners are doing. If you could share maybe some examples of how the company is leaning into the local communities that you serve.
So yeah, I mean, we have a Zero Hunger, Zero Waste initiative that we're trying to feed as many people as possible. We're trying to make sure we're reducing waste. So we're working with that. We're providing, when we do select minority owned vendors, those vendors hire into sometimes undeserved areas where people may not have, received an opportunity to work at a job before. So some of our suppliers are hiring people right off the streets, and people that have never had a home or a car, and they're giving those types of people an opportunity to work. So the more that we help minority owned vendors, the more we're helping people that have maybe not even gotten a first or a second chance at a job or just anything. So I feel like that's one of the ways that we're making an impact in the communities.
Sure.
Is by bringing on, those suppliers that are in the communities, serving the communities.
Can you share what does one or two successful engagements with Kroger looks like? Because in my opinion, it doesn't necessarily need to be all stores.
Right.
So
yeah, completely agree. I mean, to have success within Kroger, first of all, getting into Kroger it's not easy. There's a lot of factors of, getting in Kroger, and then scaling up is a lot harder than people can really understand. But we've had suppliers, start off regionally, and that's kind of how we like suppliers to start. Do we test you out in 10 stores? I mean, do we test you out in a whole division? I mean, sometimes one division can have 130 stores. Right. Do you have the capacity to do that? Is the question. Do you have the finances to do that? Do you have the manufacturing capability to provide those turns? So if you have a successful product, you got to make sure that you're able to supply the demand from our customers. So you just have to keep that in mind. But yeah, so success means, hey, I am doing on-time deliveries at my stores that I've been assigned or been given a purchase order for. We've had good sales. So you look at your sales data, and it's not just what you're shipping in, but is everything selling at the retail price? Hopefully there's no markdowns. We got to make sure that there's been no markdowns to get your product out of the store. What does it look like? Is the customer also buying another product along with your product? I mean, there's a lot of different things that looks like success. We've had a supplier that started off 18 years ago, $100.75 PO, and now we're spending $100 million on him. He started off in one division, not even one division. He was starting off in like a handful of stores. Wow. And now he's covering the entire enterprise with his product. So, it takes time, it takes persistence, and you have to be honest with yourself. You have to be honest with Kroger too. You can't say, yes, I can do 2,800 stores. If you can't do it, you have to tell us, and then we'll plan accordingly and put you in the right stores. And that's why it's very important for you to understand who you are, who your product is, and who your customers are, so we can plan accordingly, because we have stores that index to a certain type of customer. And so there's just a lot of different things to help you be successful. So
that's sure. No, LeShaun, I appreciate your transparency in the response to that question. And I would agree with everything that you say. And I think it is important for these diverse suppliers, many of them small, emerging, need to understand that. So thank you for sharing that. So, LeShaun, I know we could probably talk all day, but we're going to conclude with maybe this one last closing round. I always like the closing round question. So in a kind of like a quick, rapid way, how would you leave it for the audience here that's viewing today? What are your thoughts, perspectives? What are your 2 or 3 thoughts to just leave the group with?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say, if you're a minority-owned vendor, feel free to reach out to our team, do your homework, understand your product, understand your company, your product, your services, reach out to us, get some exposure through ECRM, Range Me, get some exposure through the certifying bodies, get connected, do a lot of networking, ask a lot of questions, get a mentor. Those are some of the things that I would definitely do to help you. I would definitely reach out to maybe even another supplier that that may be in the door with Kroger and ask them, hey, what did you do to become successful? Because that's easy money right there. Is just understanding, hey, what were the steps that you took? Because when you hear from them, they'll tell you, the hard knocks that they took just to be successful. I mean, or I've got a lot of suppliers that want to be mentors. So you can definitely reach out and say, hey, I'm looking for a mentor, a supplier, so I can understand how do I work with a retailer. And I can provide some of those. There's suppliers looking to mentor other suppliers to be successful.
Yeah, that's great, LeShaun. I appreciate that. Well, so LeShaun, we thank you for the time today and obviously the conversation. It's a starting point, and certainly we can revisit a conversation maybe at another time. The commitment is there. We're about 40% of the way. I love the sharing of $4 billion. You got a $10 billion marker, so we're only about 40% of the way, and the door is open. If you're a diverse supplier, I would encourage you all to please reach out to the diversity office. LeShaun Smedley here will be helpful in the effort. I do appreciate the shameless plugs for ECRM and Range Me, but we are also a resource in the marketplace if we can help in any way. But LeShaun, thank you very much. Wayne Bennett, thank you all for listening and viewing. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks, Wayne.